Have you ever thought about all of the tools that you use to manage your grief since your child died? Hi, my name's Melanie. Welcome to Monday Morning Message number 53. And I want to talk about the tools that I think I have developed and collected over the years that help me manage my grief. When Garrett died in 2008, Jerry and I were very ill-equipped to deal with anything about grieving. Neither one of us had a lot of experience with death. And the internet was still pretty new and not near as resourceful as it is today. Facebook was pretty new and there was no such thing as groups. So when someone recommended this grief counselor to us, we hesitantly booked an appointment with her. And it was the best decision we ever made. But I do remember feeling so apprehensive going to see her for the first time. I remember walking up to the door and Jerry and I looking at each other and saying, what are we going to say to her? We didn't know. But we got there, we told her a little bit about our story. And the first question she asked me was, so how are you feeling today? And she asked me to put my feelings into words, which I'll talk a little bit more about after. And I didn't realize how powerful that was at the time, but I think that it is so powerful. But the next thing I said to her, I said, I feel exhausted. And that's when she said 3 words to me that have, I think, shaped how I have approached the next 10 years. She said to me, Mel, grief work is hard. Work. She said it as though this was my job, as though it was work. And I didn't really understand at the time. So when I thought about it, I went to work. As a teacher, I could pack my briefcase full of things, my laptop and my pens and my curriculum guide and my checklists and my sticky notes. And they are all tools that will help me do my job, my work. So to think of grief as work, it's not like grief comes with its own little grief case packed with tools and a checklist to help everybody get through. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how right she was. Every one of us collects tools that work for us as we're going through the grieving process. It has been 10 years since Garrett died, so I feel as though I have packed my own grief case with tools that work for me when I'm having a hard day. And there are 2 times a year that I have to make a conscious effort to think about what those tools are. And that is around Garrett's birthday in January and the day Garrett died in August. And if you watched my video last week, you know that that anniversary is coming up this coming Sunday. And I, last week, was feeling completely overwhelmed at the thought of that. I was overwhelmed at the thought of how many years had passed since Garrett died. I was overwhelmed at the thought of how many years I still had to cope with his death. And so I recognized that I needed to pull out some of these tools to help myself feel better and to get myself through the next couple weeks. So the first thing that I did was to give my feelings a name. And I have already said that they were overwhelmed. But in the past, I've had to name feelings too. And sometimes they were feelings of anger. Sometimes they were feelings of jealousy. Sometimes they were feelings of sadness. Whatever they were, giving them a name seemed to allow me to control them better. If I knew what I was up against, then I could make a conscious effort to work with it. So the next thing that I did was I sat with my overwhelm and I pulled out the quilt that I have made of Garrett's clothes and I allowed myself to sit for an hour and I cried. I went through all of the clothes and every memory of the Pirates of the Caribbean t-shirts and the pajamas and the everything and the outfit he danced in at this wedding. And I let myself cry. I let those feelings of why me, this isn't fair, how am I going to live with this for the rest of my life? I let those feelings have a voice for a few minutes. There is something very powerful and very healing about tears. So I allowed myself that. And then the next thing I did was I had a shower. I changed my clothes, I did my hair, and I felt good. And then I cooked something and enjoyed it with the rest of my family. We played some games and just enjoyed being in the moment. The rest of the week, I did some other things. I spent some time out in nature. I spent some time listening to really loud music that the rest of the household didn't like, and I cleaned out a closet. I spent some time playing games with my kids, some prepping Justin's room to paint. We celebrated my dad's birthday this week, and at it, we told stories about each of the kids. And we reminisced a little bit. And on Friday, Jerry and I went out to Garth Brooks' concert. And if you haven't watched my video about the sign that I felt I got there, I have it posted below. But I just made a conscious effort that everything I did this week was in order to try to combat my feelings of overwhelm. And quite honestly, I feel pretty good going into this next week. And I think Sunday will be okay. So if you pack your grief case with some tears and a shower, maybe some essential oils, some nature, some music, and some food, I think you'll be on the right track. Next week, I will share with you a few more of the tools that I have in my grief case. And until then, have a lovely week.